Welcome to Consciousness Cafe. So we're going to have a little bit of something special tonight. We're going to have a bit of ceremony as well as a talk. Yaakov is a very experienced shaman. He had an amazing experience when he was 21, when he was hit by a bolt of lightning, which it would be nice to hear a little bit more about at some point. I might ask him about that later on. And but he went. That was in the beginning of his long period of initiation. I think it was 21 years, and that included with Gabriel Roth for 18 years, I think, and he's been learning and then practicing shamanism since then, and he is an accredited shaman, both with the Northern European Sami and with a couple of tribes in the Amazon. So that's a very special person, and he's written many books, and he's explored the themes that he's going to be discussing with you in great depth. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Yaakov Dalenkon.
Good evening, and thank you. That actually is I think, the warmest welcome I've ever been given. So thank you very much. I feel very humbled just listening to those words. I feel humbled to be here, actually, in this building and with you, and also at a time like now, as I was preparing to share with you, and it's hard for me, especially being in a house of prayer, not to be aware of particularly what's going on with my people and what's going on in the Middle East. And I can't, I have to just name it because it's so much a part of my reality right now, that feeling broken by the horrific violence that's being expressed by our species, one to the other. And it's, as I was thinking and praying about this, I was like, well, this is what I'm here to talk about. This is a talk about the broken and the unbroken. And so the broken in our world, I don't have to tell you much about that at all. We know what that is. It's everywhere, and it seems to be more and more everywhere. It seems to be more and more out there, this feeling of chaos and breakdown and difficulty and challenge and war and and weather and cataclysms, these big events. There's a lot of angst and, in a way, fear in the world. And that's part of what seems to be true. And then our work, what we have tried to do and what I've been learning, which is a modern or contemporary way of expressing something very ancient, which is this very simple thing called shamanism. Shamanism is about connection. It's not so much about belief. It's not so much about very far out, weird experiences. It's about connection, a living connection through your physical body, through the miracle and the gift of your physical body with this earth as a living being that we are part of, that we belong to, that all of this material is given by the generosity of life, of this earth. And our indigenous family and friends in the rainforest, they've just one of the things that really surprised me about the conversations I've had with them is how interested they are in who we are in the industrial world. They're not like, well, we are the indigenous people and we know everything about everything. We know about this and we want to share about a more harmonious way of life with nature. That's what we know. But also what you know is part of our humanity, and that if we're going to evolve, we need to bring one of their leaders, in one of the videos he gave, Domingo Pais, he talked about this integration of the best of all worlds, the best of all worlds. And so shamanic practice became my way because it was the first thing I'd found in my life that really made sense of my lived experience. Like as that kind of feeling of, as a child, being a little bit more fascinated by the spirit world than the physical world. Feeling a lot safer in my dreamland where I slept than in the day-to-day world. And that world seeming more real, more real, had more reality. And so I, like many people, had a real struggle to make that integration of what my spirit dreams of as this miracle of life on earth and how it is. And so in my work and travels to the Amazon, and we take groups of people there to invite them to experience for themselves through having some contact with real people in their real homes, in their real lives, in a real lived tradition that's about protecting nature, and be in our culture for a while and let us help you to see the world as we see it. Like, help us, let us help you to remember the wonder of the world, and not just looking at it as if you're separate from it, but being part of it. That we are a species that's part of this miraculous gift called life on earth. And when working in the Amazon or with Sami shamans up in the very north of Norway, they were sharing a very similar message, which is life is sacred, your body is sacred because it's made up of this elemental mineral magnificence that came from the nuclear furnace of exploding stars billions of years ago that make up this body. This re-wondering with the miracle and the poetry, not just as if you're looking at a piece of art, but that you're part of a piece of art. And that what we have, when I say we, I'm talking about myself and my beloved, who I feel always with her hand at my back. We've been together nearly 40 years, and I would not stand here if she wasn't standing there saying, "Go ahead, Yakov, speak." She was the hardest person to convince that I had something of value to say. And so it should be. And so it should be. But she's right there now, so I'm good. That's good. That's really all I needed. It's lovely to be told by indigenous shamans, yes, you're one of us. That's your gift. Take it back to your people. But don't try and make them do what we do. find a modern form, a contemporary form that speaks to your people. Like, what's the disease of the modern world? The disease of the modern world is disembodiment, to be one way of saying it. We've become so brilliant in our minds, brilliant, like what we have only created through the brilliance of our minds, but having lost the body, we've lost touch with that which gives us life in a physical sense. The aliveness, the sanctity, the magnificence of nature. So, integración, bring it together. So, Susanna and I, we, having been working with dance through an amazing woman called Gabrielle Roth, who was a wild and impetuous and impulsive, magnificently, she was a bit like the Amazon. She was like a wildcat in the city. And she was very human as well, but she was an amazing artist. And she helped me to find an entry point back into a better, more alive relationship with my body through dance. And I hated dancing. I wasn't interested in dancing. It was just made me horribly uncomfortable. And I only booked on this workshop because there was a thing about Gabrielle Roth, shamanism, something. All I heard was shamanism, so that was it. I was off. And when I arrived in this room, there was all these human beings stretching and doing yoga, and there was music playing, and I was like, what's going on? What's this all about? And then I discovered that I'd signed up for a dance weekend. And I was horrified. I was really horrified. However, I'm not joking, within 20 minutes, when Gabrielle started to teach and talk and guide us, she showed me that it wasn't dancing that I hated so much. It was being self-conscious. It was being out of relationship with my body and feeling uncomfortable in my own skin. And just lost in my thinking about, is this right and is this good and should I be doing it better and should I, whatever, what shape should I be, or all of this internal busy dialogue called being stuck in the head. And she was like, no, get your attention out of there and put that amazing life energy in your feet. Put it in your feet and let your feet listen to the rhythm and then see what happens. And what happened is that the body loves to dance, apparently. That's all there is to it. Whether I like it or not, the body loves it. The body loves it when we say, go on, you lead. Show me what you've got. And this was an amazing initiation we had with that very simple idea. And Gabrielle was very radical. She was like, it's not good for us that we think of God as being somewhere over there. And that's the good. And as long as we are in a particular way here, we'll get to join that somehow. She was like, no. Beautiful, yes, but spirit and body, because we're here on earth, that means we're physical beings. Integración, spirit and body. That was her thing. That was her very simple thing. Get your spirit back in your body, get your body back on the earth, and then from that place, you start to know, you start to be quiet enough. And this is where we enter into the realm of ritual. Why we why we do ritual and what's the use of it in the modern world. And by ritual, I'm talking, this particular form of ritual I'm talking about is what my wife and I basically developed through watching and through learning and through lots of feedback and lots of shaping. And we just found a very simple way of creating a space where people are able, whatever their belief system or no belief system, whatever they brought, whatever their history is, whatever they carry, whatever is broken in them that needs some resourcing, some connection with what's unbroken in life. That's what ritual is. It brings us back into remembrance and connection with that which is unbroken. And in shamanic practice, that simply means this body is earth. It's earth. That's what it's made from. It moves through solar power, through sunlight. It's a solar-powered physicality. And it's made up of around 65% water, apparently. Around 65% water, so that means 65% of me is kind of fluid and not quite so rigid, maybe fluid. And then there's breath. So we work with this very simple elemental remembrance, and we just say to the dancers, put your attention for a moment in that part of you that is water, like that 65% of you. And then, just like the way you let your feet be moved by the rhythm, now let your water body be moved by the rhythm and become more watery. And see what that brings to you if you let your being become a little bit more fluid. If you let your being become a little bit more like water or like fire, like to own that very different expression, or like earth, like to be, so different feeling altogether, or to be like the wind, to be like the breath. So ritual is an invitation to bring our condition and our concerns and our prayers and our dreams, and we bring them back to the community. And as a community, through whatever it is our community gig is, in my world, the community gig is called movement medicine. It's dance. That's how we pray. That's the way that we find a way into some sense of connection with something greater than us, that's visceral, that's physical, that we experience fully. And we let ourselves be moved by that. And in that emptying out, which is, it's so important for our human intelligence, that we get regular opportunities to empty out. If we don't empty out, we just get more and more full until, we kind of lose all fluidity. We become just full of experience, often a lot of it not even nice experience. So I wish and I pray and I visualize that sometime in the near future in the nursery schools, dance is much more a part of the curriculum on a daily basis, where the kids get shown, like, Yeah, you got lots of energy. This isn't ADHD. This is you're a dancer. You need to move. You don't need to sit down at a desk all day. You're a moving animal. You need to shake. This is what dance is, where it brings us back to the intelligence of the animal body. There's an instinct that is part of us. So ritual brings us back to the place where we can empty out, remember what resources us, reconnect with what's unbroken through that same thing that makes us up, the unbroken living magnificence of the earth is in the unbroken magnificence of this earth that is taking the form of this body right now. I'm earth, I'm unbroken, and we identify with that strength. And from that place, we can hold, and we can embrace, and we can make space for that which is broken. And why does that matter? Well, if we don't do it, then we have reasons to be at war with each other. If we don't do that work of healing, of emptying out that which happened to us or that which we did to others, if we don't make space for that, for emptying, then we what else can we do? What else can we do but fight? So on a very simple level, when we go into ritual, we are in remembering our connection to self and body and resource and emptying out. In that remembering, it's not just about us, of course. And this I really learned from the Achua people in the Amazon. I was there many, many years ago, and one of the elders there asked me to do a healing on their granddaughter. And I felt very, of course, I'll have to give my best, please. What an honor, how lovely, and feeling like, oh my God, just asked me to do a healing on his granddaughter. But when the granddaughter came, she came with like 25 members of her family. The grandmothers, the grandfathers, all the brothers and sisters, the cousins, people just hanging on for the interest, like, oh, there's a bit of theater happening over in the shaman's tent today. And they all come together because it was explained to me, the illness that's showing up in this young girl, she's just the part of the system of we that is expressing that sickness. So her sickness is part of us. So her healing is part of us. So it's one for all and all for one, or nothing at all. And it's kind of common sense, really. It's, when you get these little eureka moments, when you think about them later, they're just total common sense. And so our ritual spaces are not just about us. They're about the people we love and care for. They're about the people we feel connected to. So I think, like many ways of praying, shamanic ritual, I think maybe you will notice, oh, this is very similar to that, or it's very similar to that. Different, but just a different format of making a connection with a greater power. And again, for us in our industrial world, part of that is body, heart, mind together. Self, then others. Then what's our connection to the wider community? And what's our offering? And what can we appreciate about what we're giving in our lives? What can we appreciate? And can we ask for guidance? Is there more? Is there adjustment? Can we not just be stuck in our road, but can we regularly keep returning to that space of asking for guidance? Prayer. Simple, really. Not give me, but please guide me. Like, please show me what's true through this being. And I feel deeply blessed by that gets to be my work in this life, and that I get to create these spaces. And what I want to do for you just about now is to pick up my drum and to invite you. It's all right, you don't have to get up and dance, but you can. You don't have to. You don't have to move a muscle. It's all right. I'm not going to ask you to do anything but listen to the drum, and I'm going to say some words, and I'm going to see if I can just help you to go one little step closer in intimacy to your felt experience of what I've been talking about. Like, can you experience your body as more a body of earth? And you may want to move with that, but you're very welcome just to sit and breathe and listen. You may wish to close your eyes or keep them open. All is good. All is good. Only go where your sense of what's right allows you to go. So the drum is one of the oldest calls to attention, to rhythm, to the dance of life that is happening right now through your heartbeat, through that circulation. As you pay attention, maybe you smile at your heart and you just say thank you. And your attention follows the drum, if you will, a little deeper into the sensation of life in your body right now. Your feet on the ground, the feeling of warmth maybe in your hands, perhaps just the back against the back of the chair. Wherever you sense the body, if you will, bring your attention there. And be a little more generous than you may normally be with your breath. Not a lot of effort, just inviting that little bit more breath, breathing in and out, just a little bit deeper. When you breathe in, you're simply saying yes to oxygen, to life. When you're breathing out, you're letting go a little. And the drum brings you down to your feet. It's as if your feet feel the ground in a new way. Perhaps just a moment or a fraction more sensitive than they may have felt this connection with ground, with earth. And let your imagination be there in your feet. And you may see your roots simply spreading out. And as you find that connection with earth, you realize you can let the weight of your body, the weight of your feelings, the weight of your thoughts, everything can just drop down a little. Go with the flow of gravity. Good. Maybe there's a tiny movement in the body, a sense of rhythm. Breathing into your feet. Imagine you could sense that space above the head. Don't go there, simply open your awareness as if you were looking up from your roots, as if you were looking up at the sky, and receive that wide open space of the sky. Bring it down into the roots, making your whole being feel a little more spacious as you breathe. And you feel that, we might call it, spirit of the wind. But you can call it oxygen, whatever your language is for it. Without it, there is no life. So taking that medicine of breath and bringing it down into your feet, somehow it helps the whole heart, the whole body to feel just a little more spacious, airy. You feel that simple connection. Your feet, your roots connected up through the body, up into the sky. Like your arms were branches reaching for the warmth of the sun. Like your arms were branches receiving the kiss of the sun's warmth and light and nutrients. And you took in this miracle of light, and you felt it nourishing your bodies, warming you, connecting with the warmth of the fire within you. The fire that burns in every one of our mitochondria, deep down, solar warmth, light of the sun. Sensing that warm, unbroken light, that warm, unbroken spirit of earth, the aliveness of the breath, and it brings you into that fluid place that holds it all together. Sensing those waters of life washing through all the joints of your body, washing and cleansing and purifying, circulating, mending. The spirit of the waters, such deep, life-giving medicine. The unbroken, the movement of tides, the softness of mist, the pull of a breaking wave, waters washing through you, cleansing. Sensing these four elements and the love from which they come and to which they connect us to. That love of creation, whatever name you have for it. That animating spirit that gives life and brings you to this remembrance of that which is unbroken in you, even deeper than before. The warm, fluid, strong, spacious, unbroken intelligence of life that lives this body and holds everything in us and in this world that is broken. Just letting yourself be with that. And in this moment, if you will, turn your attention to anywhere that your heart goes out to in this wider world. Simply, I am aware of you now. I bear witness to you, to this. And if that becomes a prayer, then so be it. And we're preparing to bring ourselves back into what we might call a more ordinary state of awareness. So soon I'm going to ask you to open your eyes gently, gently. And we will bring this journey to a close. Gently, gently, feet on the ground. Back to this very beautiful, warm, welcoming space. A consciousness cafe. How cool is that? A consciousness cafe. Where ideas are welcome. I really appreciate your attention, thank you. On the 9th beat of this drum, your eyes can open and you'll be right here in this beautiful church, bringing with you whatever you've received or experienced, leaving behind whatever you wish to leave behind. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And open your eyes gently, gently. Gently, gently, gently.
Thank you so much. I think that's the point at which you'd like to pause, and we now have something like a quarter of an hour for initial questions and answers and discussion with Yaakov in any way that you choose. So if you have a question of some sort, raise your hand, and David and I will circulate around the room. And if people on Zoom want to put something into the chat box, that's being monitored as well.
Is it okay for people simply if they want to share their experience?
Yeah, or share in any way you like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank
People
you.
normally do at Consciousness Cafe.
I thought so. Yes.
Yeah.
It's that
So
kind of gig, isn't it?
it is that
Yeah.
kind of gig.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I think the whole world looks brighter, actually, when I open my eyes. I thought, that was my experience.
Are you getting
Yeah,
me?
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole world looked brighter when I opened my eyes than it did before. So, incredible experience. Thank you. I'd like to ask, so is that the method that you use to create ritual?
Yes. Is that the way that we normally guide people into ritual space, like we just did now? It was a more sedentary version than I normally would do, but it's actually really fine and beautiful and just felt very appropriate. But normally, when we're holding space, our work is called movement medicine. So that in the clues in the name, and so we get people to with all different kinds of music that we're blessed to be alive to have access to extraordinary artistry, just flowing into the world every day, unbelievable music. So with the help of that, and it's embodied imaginal directing, and so we hold a space in which people, so we give a question, like for the next 20 minutes as you're moving, focus on asking as you're moving, how could I be kinder to myself? How could I be more accepting of myself? Or how could I encourage myself to have a bit more discipline and focus, whatever it is I need? That would be one question. Another might be, how could I be a better father or a better friend? So we bring questions into the moving body, and then we keep coming back to resourcing, like we just did, earth, fire, water, wind. That's resourcing, it's remembering. I'm not doing this by myself. I'm part of something, and I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it for life. It's my thank you. So that's the...
Okay,
Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, can you hear me? I don't know if I'm loud enough. First thing was you talking about the schools. When you're wishing schools would teach dance. It reminded me of when I was young, and I think I had a really good primary school, because I remember I had a teacher who took a dance class, and it wasn't like traditional stuff. I can't remember the piece. It might have been I can't remember the piece of music. It was a very slow classical piece of music, and we'd go on the ground and sort of feel what the music was telling us, and she'd ask us to, I don't know, grow into trees, move like the wind, all that sort of stuff. So it took me back then. So I appreciated that kind of thing you spoke on. And then, I don't know, a lot of things you spoke about resonated. I'm feeling really embarrassed speaking now. But there was things about, then you described water, the ground, the earth, and fire. I kind of really got a sense of what that is now, a bit more. That was really useful to hear. And getting up and dancing to the drum was lovely. Really, really good. That thing about being disembodied to being more embodied. As I grow older, I'm getting more of a sense of being more embodied. And I'd like the world to heal a bit more in the same way. We need it a lot. So thanks for your talk. It's really good.
Thank you. Thank you. How beautiful. Lovely to hear. Thank you for acknowledging the shyness of talking up as well. It's really... Thank you.
Thank you, Yakov, for what you shared. And what for me was the peak moment there was to receive what is unbroken through the elements, to connect with that, and therefore feeling renewed through that. And this is my focus also in my life at the moment, as I work a lot in nature. And I'm interested. I spend a lot of time, feeling what is receiving, So I always receive this love, but specifically, how can this deepen? This from tree, from animal, also from human. Although for human it's more complex for me, So I just wonder if you have more. How is the receiving? It's through listening, listening from the heart, I suppose. Thank you. That's my question.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, listening from the heart. Listening from the heart. As I'm listening to my response, I just feel those words echoing that you said in my body. So that I'm kind of, listening from the heart. And what does that mean? Means also listening from the body, because that's because the heart needs the ground. Otherwise the heart's too much for us. It feels too much. That's why we need the body. It's why we need that ground and that strength of being physical, like taking care of this. That holds it. It holds it. And when you talk about relationship, I think, it really takes time, doesn't it? Like I think I've been with my wife for 38 years, and there's no way we could have done it any quicker. I mean, we would have done if we could, like to make peace, actually to make peace. And I feel like it's the same with us and trees, and us and land, and us and river, and us and that part of the sacred that we culturally may have forgotten. And so that's why indigenous people, even like people who live pretty well with the earth, do thank you rituals all the time. Like, you know, not like to the earth, not to somebody up there, but to this actual matter that's giving us life. Whatever it is that animates it, wow, but it's alive. And so it's that kind of, as well as that. I hope that makes sense.
I have a question from one of the people on Zoom, Sue Blackmore. You talked about that healing, I think, when all the people brought the granddaughter, was it?
Yeah.
She was just wondering what actually happened, and how you felt with all the people there, and whether it made you scared, or did they become part of the healing with you?
That's a great question. Yes. What happened was, well, shamanic healing is quite a noisy business at the best of times. There's lots of, whistling and spitting and gurgling and vomiting and farting, excuse me, but it's a very physical, loud experience. It's not, and so, and each healer has their own kind of song and melody. So I had this beautiful young 9-year-old Amazonian girl sitting on a beautiful wooden stool, and we're deep in the forest, and we're in a beautiful Malacca hut, long hut with open sides, and you can see moonlight, and it's just unbelievable. This nature is still so magnificently itself. And I started to work, and I could hear the kids amongst all the big group of people. I could hear them kind of, when you hear kids like, that what they really want to do is just burst out laughing, and they're trying to be good, and they're trying so hard to be good. So I thought, well, I just, so excuse me, but I just farted, and then the kids just lost it, and they were like, "Whoa!" And I was, "Whoa!" And then everything just went, okay, we're all right together now. At least we understand the basics of life. And then we were together, and we were in it. And so there was, of course I was nervous. I mean, that part of me that is aware of such things is always nervous. But when you're in that space, that part is not the focus. So, and it can't be. It just can't be. Because it's not about you in that moment. It's about this. And so, yeah, I hope that makes sense again. Thank you for your question. Where's the camera, son? Wave at you, whoever you are. Oh, yeah. Anyway, whoever you are, I'm waving at you. Thank you.
As a part of shamanism, how much does ayahuasca take precedent?
Well, traditionally, very little. So ayahuasca, does everyone know what ayahuasca is? Just in case you don't, it's a medicine, it's very hallucinogenic, and it's used in the Amazon, not for recreation, but for healing and for discovering life purpose. That's how it's used traditionally. Like, you've got a problem, you'll go and see the shaman, and they create a space that's for that purpose, or to get a vision. So there are some aspects or some traditions within shamanism that use that kind of plant material to aid the healing. But it's by far not the only form of shamanism, though you might think that in the modern day, because most of the shamanism we hear about is people having psychedelic experience. And that's not always a good thing. It's just not. And that's why in traditional cultures, if you're going to do that kind of thing, there's preparation, and there's a lot of care, and there's aftercare, and there's the meaning making of it. There's the translation. It's a held, sacred experience. And so when it can be like that, that's a wonderful thing. But there are, for me, the most powerful form of shamanic practice is dancing with my drum. Not without just that, breathing, and with my wife and with people, and just being in that repetition and singing and feeling what we were just doing, that being in that experience, that's, I don't need it to get more real than that. That's the place where I really feel spirit. And so, no, it does not have to be about that. And indigenous people, unless they're training in that tradition, they might do that kind of ceremony three times in their life. The way that we do it in the Western world is we do it once, and then we do it 10 times, and then we do it 100 times, because that's how we do everything. The more the merrier. And we're consumers. That's what we've been trained to be. So we consume. And it's not always a good thing for the indigenous cultures or for the people. So I'm very blessed that I've been afforded the opportunity to work with people, traditional healers who have never left the forest, who live, but they know our world. But they've lived there, and they're not involved in the shamanic tourist industry, which is a whole other thing. They're actually in their traditions, looking after their people and looking after their land. So I would say that's the role of the shaman, plants or no plants. As long as they're doing that, it's good by me. If they're making spaces where people can heal, good. That's got to be good. But it's not always like that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. So that brings us to the end of the first hour. So we've got a chance to get into things in a little bit more depth. Are there questions in the room? Yeah.
I'm interested in self-consciousness because it seems to creep into everything. And I was wondering if you had ideas of why it was so prevalent and whether it's the same in other cultures as well.
Wow. That's a really good question. I think it's got worse, and because partly through social media, because there's a kind of loss of privacy. So everything is judged according to whatever the current thing is, and I do think that it's a lot to do with our ideas of family and children. And so, for instance, it's like indigenous people, by no means perfect. It's not like they have the answer to life and they're all happy and live happily ever after. It's not like that at all. They have a lot of challenges, a lot of trouble, a lot of things to work out. But they do have a different way with their kids, and it's partly just to do with the sense of belonging, that there is a sense of belonging to something that's bigger than you, and like your sisters and brothers and family and extended and friends and all the kids, and there's a just a different expectation of lifting each other up being supportive and looking to see not me as the teacher or the parent deciding because of my own frustrated dreams and identities that I've never fulfilled to make you do it for me, rather than you are a being and I will guide you to the best of my ability to find out who you are and what your life is about. And what I've seen with particularly the Achuar tribe in Ecuador is they really do look, and the Zappa, there's 2 tribes we visit there, they look and they watch what the kids are interested in. And they're guided by that, to support that in them. And don't get me wrong, it's not a free-for-all. There's very clear discipline. And we have the worst of both worlds. Like, you just do what you want, because I'm not going to give you any structure because my parents were so structured, they strangled me. Not like the opposite, like from one extreme to the other, but more of a balance. And so self-consciousness, or that lack of confidence that so many of us in the industrial world suffer from, is about not having yet found the time to remember your strength through what's supporting you now. Not what was then, but what you have access to now. And so that's what grounding is, or walking barefoot on the ground, or having a more physical relationship with the ground, rolling on the ground even in the morning, and saying, like, giving your weight. It's a way of developing relationship with attachment and grounding and holding that maybe we didn't get. And then the same with sunlight. These are just simple exercises that you can do, like the first light in the morning that you can, to be out and receive that light. Apparently it's really good for us on all kinds of levels. It even helps us to sleep better. And that light, if you take it and make a connection with it, it's like in a way relationship with, in some traditions they just call it the divine papa, like the sun is rising saying, child, stand up, shine, grow, be yourself, go on. That lovely, warm, universal father feeling in the form of sunlight. And you can build a relationship with that just in a way like you're changing your mind through being in your body also. And anyone can do that. Anyone can develop that. It's not a special talent. It's just repetition. That you teach yourself a new story. It's like, the playlist that we're listening to is out of date, needs updating. We need put some new songs in there. Like, I'm brilliant, I'm beautiful, I love life, I'll do my best. Have a good day. That would be a better song than, oh my God, I didn't sleep enough, and oh dear, and it's another miserable day on the earth. Like, I'm not being personal, of course. I'm talking about me on a bad morning, let's be honest, when I forget. But it's a lot to do with that internal dialogue, self-consciousness. Because self-consciousness is just a thought going round and round. And then that has a horrible feeling in the body. It's awkward. But we can really learn. We really can. At any time. One of the people who Gabrielle trained came to her in her mid-70s, and she trained and to use that kind of awareness. And then in her 70s to 80s, she was holding a class on the West Coast with Hell's Angels, a movement class. This nearly 80-year-old grandmother. It's amazing. Just boom, whole new chapter. I found that very inspiring. I'm like, the older I get, the more inspiring I find it. I hope that helps you, because it is something that we can also help each other with so much. You know, we can be much more generous with each other, much more appreciative. That would help.
Oh, hello, Yakov.
Hello.
Nice to see you. I was taken when we were with the drumming, and there was the earth, and then there was the going into the air. And I was kind of transported to an image, you know, it was like a funnel, and then I saw antlers. And I know that's a kind of shamanistic thing, that you can wear antlers on your head. And there's a wonderful cauldron, a Gunderstrop kind of bowl with those on. And I was very surprised, but very enchanted by that, because it's a real aerial connection. Mm-hmm. And then I sink back into my dilemma, because I come with fragments of many traditions, and the Christian and shamanistic and, you know, Taoism and God knows what, everything, all jangling around inside me. So trying to find one form, well, I don't think it exists. I just don't know anymore, you know? And there are words too. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know what I'm not really asking, I'm just laying something out on the carpet there with antlers. You know, do I go to church now with antlers on? No.
Oh, thank you. It's very charming and touching to hear you lay that out on the table, and thank you very much for sharing that with us. I feel like that's quite a privilege to be let into your experience in that way. And there is one thing, and but it's none of those things. It is the one thing is only you. I mean, because you are the one who becomes through your like all the little streams that go into the river, and then the river goes into the sea, and you're the river, and these are all the streams, and it's like that. And ask your friends what they love about you. I really recommend that to all of us. And tell them as well, of course. Play the game. Like, say, look, we've got a new game for Christmas. It's called the appreciation game. I get to tell you 3 things that I really appreciate about you, and you get to do the same, okay? And then, we'll leave the crackers till later. So that kind of appreciation. And when you talk, like, who else on this planet could say that? There isn't anyone else who could say that. Is there? I mean, I don't think there is. I think you're the only one and that's, it's your thumbprint. Soul, my wife, we looked for years for a name that summed up her medicine, because like shaman it's like a piece of clothing that's the wrong color and doesn't fit. And so she was told by an oracle on a Greek island in a cave that she was a soul whisperer. And I thought, a soul whisperer, isn't that beautiful? And I just had that echo in the way you spoke. So it's like, ask your friends.
I've got another question from the people on Zoom, about, again, going back to our culture, asking about why do you think we've let go of traditional rituals that used to bring the community together, The church notwithstanding, Jim.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially this church. Fabulous. Long live the revolution. That's what I say. Yeah. Why did we lose those rituals? Well, sadly, it wasn't that we lost them. They were brutally attacked by the, it was like we could say an evolution, perhaps, that there was a new dominant story on the block. And that particular expression of that dominant story thought it had to submerge all the other ones. And so it did, very successfully. And so we did lose those traditions, at least as far as unbroken lineages. However, they came from the land, those traditions, those rituals, and they're still there. And just like our friend Domingo Pais in the Amazon talked about integración, it's like this is why for me being in this church, having this conversation right now, is a real blessing, and I really thank the people in this church that it's possible that we can have these conversations now and share and not have to argue about how we connect with what we call the divine. So there was something broken, but it's in the land, and I think there are many traditions that are rebuilding. And it is interesting that shamanism apparently is the fastest growing belief system on the earth. I found that astonishing when somebody told me that. I was a bit worried, to be honest, but because who knows? But it's we need the wisdom from wherever it's landed if we're ever going to have a sense of the whole picture. Everyone's got a piece of the truth. Everyone is the chosen people. And so until we get that, we have to cobble together what we can and do our best to go on evolving and listening and asking for guidance. And I think it does work. Like we do the long dance ceremony in the summer, actually very close to here, just on the edge of Dartmoor. And it's a 72-hour dance ceremony. And it's a giveaway, it's a fundraiser, nobody gets paid, people fast for 72 hours, they drink some water or coconut water, and we dance around 20 hours a day, and everyone who comes has to raise money for a particular project, be it local or international. And so this is a modern form of ritual that has re-emerged through what we're bringing, and there are many such things coming. And I hope that, in just under 1 billion years' time, just at that point before apparently our sun in the sky, shines its last sunrise, just then I hope that we've arrived somewhere really good as a species on this earth. But I think we're very young and we've got a lot to learn.
I wanted to ask about dreams and if they play any role in your sort of thinking and teaching, particularly the sharing of dreams in the sense of, the use of dreams rather than just as your own self-consciousness type thing.
Yes.
That's about it.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, interestingly, the two tribes that I mentioned, the Achua and the Zapara, they're both called dream cultures. You know that, yes. So what a dream culture is, from what I have learned so far, is basically a culture that takes their dreams seriously. So the Achua wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and they drink this tea called Huayusa tea, which is full of antioxidants, very good for you. You drink it very quickly, hot gourds, 4 or 5, 6 of them, and then you go and purge in the bush over there. You just, whoa, and this is like brushing your teeth. It's the way they keep their biome healthy. It's really, it's good for them, and it also wakes them up. And then they sit down by the fire in the dark, and they share their dreams, and they listen to each other's dreams, and they get a picture then from listening of what kind of day might be coming. Is it a good day to hunt? Or, no, better not go out into the forest today because there's a storm coming. Or so it can be that practical, or it can be, well, I had a dream that an old relation has been walking through the forest and they're coming to see us, so we should prepare a welcome. So they take these dreams just like we might receive an SMS message. It's like, yeah, well, life told me to prepare for some cousin coming, then I'll prepare. and so there's a reality to that connection of the university of life, where we spend around 30 years if we live to around 80, 90 years old. We spend around 30 years in that place called sleep. And in that place called sleep, everyone dreams, even if we don't remember them. We do dream, and it's necessary. And there are many different kinds of dreams. There's digestion dreams, where you're just kind of chewing over the day, you know, in imagery, just chewing it over, digesting, resting, letting it go. There are dreams which are more messages, like personal, something to do with your psyche. You know, you're walking down the road and you see a red letterbox dancing, and then behind it, there's your father who you've not seen for 30 years because he died. And there he is, and you go, Dad, you're by a red letterbox dancing, and you've been dead for 30 years. Oh, this must be a dream. Oh, this must be a dream. Wow, I'm dreaming. I'm asleep, and I'm dreaming. And where in this knowledge-filled nighttime may I learn best? So you could call it night school. And there's a lot to learn. And of course there are many traditions that practice that. And often with, you know, like I know in Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the practice of lucid dreaming is preparation for dying. So, because they say it's a very similar state. There you are in some kind of state that you know, then and mostly like a good night's sleep for us in our culture is, how did you sleep? I slept like a log. That means you just missed everything. I mean, sometimes good, sleep like a log, I do. And it's healthy also. But every night, when there's so much on offer from the intelligence of life and our psyche, and then there are specific practices that you can test your awareness in. Like we were given a what's it called, a task by one of our teachers who said, okay, so you're going to fall asleep and you're going to wake up outside of your body. And then you're going to walk in the dream towards your body that's sleeping on the bed. Don't romanticize it. It's just your body, you know, drooling and, you know, not looking at their best, sleeping. And you just bless your body and then turn around and walk off into the dream and have an idea of what it is you want to learn. So they called it a dream plan. And it took me a very long time, and sometimes it does. Like if you were if you want to get good at something, you have to practice it a lot. And that was a really amazing moment. And this is something that dream can bring. I did wake up and I did see my body. And I was awake. And my body was there on the bed and I was conscious. And that's very interesting. What does it mean? I've no idea. I love the mystery. That's what I love. I mean, you could say, well, clearly, therefore, there's life after death, but I prefer the mystery. I like the excitement of that. It's like, maybe, maybe not. Let's see. Thank you. I hope that's dreaming. Yes, dreams have been incredibly helpful for me in my life. Yeah, and for you too, I think. Yes. Yeah.
I have a question. You spoke about working with the Achuar and with the Sami people, and I'm just curious about how you communicated. Did you learn the language? Did you work through an interpreter? How much of what you was conveyed to you was non-verbal and your own observation and so on, I guess.
Thank you. Well, with Mattis, who was the Sami shaman, I knew he died a few years ago. And for many years, he was a figure in my dreamscape. It never occurred to me that he was a real human being. I just used to call him the old man of the north. And when I was leading an event or holding a space, I would always ask his, anything to say, anything I should look out for. And I always felt this just I felt it as like an archetypal guidance system, let's say. And then through a whole set of circumstances, which I did write about, I eventually came to meet this man. And that was kind of mind-blowing. It really did blow up a lot of my doubt because it was so direct. So, I'm sorry, I've lost my thread. I just was so with Mattis just then for a moment, and like when I mention his name, language, thank you. When I mention his name, I miss him, and he was a very simple shaman, just living on the edge of a village, like would never have done anything. Like his whole power was based in being silent. And he held a drum for 30 years. His great-grandfather was beheaded in a very awful situation, which was part of that old story. He didn't speak any English. He spoke a little bit of Norwegian. His only English word actually was this, "Gomor," which meant good morning, apparently. And he was an okay. And then I tried to learn some Sami, but that didn't go too well. So, but because I'd met him in my dreams for so long, when I was actually sat next to him, we would just sit watching the river go by for hours. And then, he made me a drum. And the way that he showed me about drumming was he would just go take one note on the drum, and then he'd sit and wait, like for 5 minutes and 10 minutes, and looking around, and I'm like, what's he doing? And, like this is some ritual I don't know about. Maybe it's some kind of initiation. And then he'd go bang and another note, and then watch. And this went on for 3 or 4 hours. In the end, I was like, I did have an interpreter. I said, what what's happening? And he said, well, every sound has an effect. You're making noise, and you're in this landscape, so everything's listening. So if you don't listen, then how are you ever going to learn to sing with it? I was like, wow. That's basic. They didn't teach me that at school. I wish they had. So there was many forms of communication. Yeah, also through dreams. And just now, that feeling of antlers.
I think a brief last question from the people on Zoom, just about healing and what it means to you, and what about an illness? Is it more than just bodily healing? But then, what is the meaning of illness?
Wow.
A quick question.
A quick question. That's easy.
About a minute on that.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, let's start with the basics. Sometimes shit happens, and it's there's who knows. I think it's mostly a lot of unknowns, and that who we are and how long we live is, we have some voice in the matter, and we may as well do the very best we can to look after the vehicle. But when it's run out of fuel, that, I don't know, there's nothing to be done about that. My son, he's studied functional medicine, and we're his longevity project. So he gives us all these things to, we're doing kettlebells at the moment and Peloton cycling, and it's like, wow, it's exhausting, but thank God it really does help, in all honesty. So healing is a lot. It's two things. It's about, one is the power of acceptance is usually healing. And acceptance doesn't mean I agree with it. It just means I come into, this is so. This is so. That's a very powerful state. And it's very different than feeling victimized. And it changes everything. It changes our consciousness, it changes, and that may have an effect on the body, a positive effect. There's quite a lot of research that says yes, it does, and so it can. And the same with, sometimes there are illnesses that, like certainly in the Amazon, if you have an illness, it's very often considered to be something more psychic or from a neighboring village, or a sign of something for the community that needs to be dealt with. And that's a matter of some kind of sense of intrusion in the integrity of the health of your system. And shamans as healers, they're looking to do their best to support the natural healing power of the body and the spirit. Exactly what we did before. Your body resourced, elemental, connected to a greater power than just physical matter. Your imagination engaged. That's a very powerful medicine. Movement and imagination. One of our teachers who we trained is working a lot with advanced Parkinson's disease, and they found in research that the best thing to help people with that was not just moving your body, it was movement with imagination. This engaging the two is very important for our well-being. And so healing is then also a state of mind that is, I wake up in the morning, and how do I begin my day? What do I ruminate on? What story do I tell myself? And healing would be beginning with training your mind that first of all you relax a little and wait in case there's dreams that are just floating, waiting for you to catch them and bring them in. And secondly, when your mind begins to awaken, that you focus on, if you can, the first few thoughts of your day being thank you. Thank you. My heart's still beating. Thank you. Wow. Gravity's still working. Wonderful. Thank you. The sun rose. Wow. Thank you. There's a roof over my head. My God, thank you. My body is taking me to the toilet. Wow. Thank you, body. There's a prayer. There's a gratitude. And it's not, if you'll excuse the term, sugar on shit. It's not designed to distract us from any problems that we're facing, but it's designed to help us put those in a context, in a bigger context. And it helps a lot. So healing is body, it's also emotional, and it's also mind. Certainly for health in the human system, a deeper listening to our emotional intelligence, to know that it's not bad to cry. Even anger is a very suitable and respectful response to things that threaten our integrity or disagree with our basic human values. What we do with that anger, that's a whole other choice. But it's like to gain a deeper understanding of our emotional intelligence. Tears are designed to help heal. They heal that awful pain of loss. And grief it's waterfalls in the desert. And, fear is a part of our animal system that says, pay attention. Like, pay attention. You okay? You okay? Yes, I'm okay. And so we can learn physical intelligence, emotional intelligence, imagination intelligence creates the landscape in which healing is a dance. That'll do.
That's a beautiful note on which to end it. And thank you so much for a multi-dimensional experience. Thank you for attending Consciousness Cafe.
Thank you.
So, Consciousness Cafe is now officially closed. Thank you for attending and good night. Yep.